I was curious, when you looked at the head, did you notice, were you able to specifically, you don't say anything about this in any reports, I know, but...
Well, they didn't ask me anything about it.
Yeah, about the, well, you did give some testimony in the head. You said there was, in the right occipital-parietal area, there was a large defect.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But that was the main thing, but...
It was about 7 centimeters, and I saw that most of the cerebellum appeared to be gone. That was my thought at the time, see, and I've not read the autopsy to see whether that was authenticated or not, but it appeared to me that I couldn't see the cerebellum well, and it looked like the occipital lobes of the brain were lying, on the foramen magnum as if some brain tissue were missing, you see.
Yeah.
And the blood was just, of course, pouring out of the head.
Did you notice any wounds in the right temporal area? You weren't asked, huh?
No, I mean...
the reason I ask is
that... I didn't because the occipital wound was so big.
Yeah.
You know, you could put your fist in it. And,
right.
We didn't know at the time that he had the wound in the back. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember being mystified at the time as to whether he'd been shot once or twice, and of course that became quite a controversy later on.
Yeah, right.
My thoughts were that I was trying to think how he could have, had the hole in his neck and the hole in the occiput, and the only answer we could think was perhaps the bullet had gone in through the front, hit the bony spinal column, and exited through the back of the head. Since a wound of exit is always bigger than a wound of entry, see?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a fellow from the ballistics section of the state police department when about the time of the incident, and he said, of course, that that was a possibility, and talked about his ability to make projectiles which would explode on contact, and create a much larger wound. And we didn't, we really didn't know, and it was only after he got back to Bethesda that they called back and started asking a bunch of questions, and of course we hadn't even had time to roll him over because he was dead within a few moments of the time we started working on him, and there wasn't any use to roll him over. I remember when we ripped off his clothes, and he was wearing this corset, which is one thing that struck me as kind of incongruous, and the guys hopped on that when they interviewed me for the Warren Commission. I said, well, they wanted to know why. I thought that was funny, and I said, well, here was the president, a multimillionaire himself, who had this corset on, and to stabilize his pelvis below that, he was wrapped with an ace bandage, which you could buy for $3.50 at any store. And I thought probably somebody had advised him that might further strengthen his back. He probably had the backache.
Yeah.
And
you've got a copy of your testimony, don't you?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, it says here, it seemed quite interesting to me that the President of the United States had an ordinary $3 ace bandage, probably in an effort to stabilize his pelvis.
No, I never have read it, I probably ought to, if they quote me correctly.
Yeah, they've probably got you.
But anyway, that was the interesting thing to me. Of course, we felt his femoral pulses, and they disappeared then fairly promptly, and that time Pepper Jenkins, our anesthesia professor, had walked in, and his heart stopped, and Malcolm said, well, I wonder if we ought to open his chest and massage his heart. And Pepper said, well, boys, you better look at this brain before you do that.
Yeah.
And when we did, of course, it was obvious that he had a mortal wound. It was not even appreciated until later when the photos of Bethesda showed that the bullet had hit the petrous portion of the temporal ridge and shattered into 10 or 12 pieces throughout the brain, which in itself would have been a mortal wound. So there wasn't, by that time it was all over.
Yeah. Well, when you said they called back from Bethesda and asked a lot of questions, did they speak to you too?
No, they didn't. Malcolm, I think, talked to them most of the time about that.
Yeah. Do you remember what day those phone calls were made?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember what day those phone calls were made?
Yes, it was the next day.
It was Saturday?
Yes, the next day, because he was taken, I think it was about 12:35 when we just really pronounced him dead. And they came right in there with the casket and rolled him out. I remember it...
Did you see him put into the casket?
Well, no, I didn't actually see him do that. I and Bob McClellan and Charlie Baxter and Mrs. Kennedy and Dr. Jenkins were only ones in there, though, when he got his last rites from Father Huber, who was his priest. And then after the last rites were performed, which Mrs. Kennedy, by the way, seemed to know much better than the priest, Secret Service men came in and asked everyone, including her, to leave the room for a moment, and I suppose that's when they wheeled the casket in, because we left.
Oh, but they came in and wanted the room cleared.
Everyone was cleared out of the room, everyone.
And then they were put, I see, and in other words, and the Secret Service men put him in the casket?
Well, I can't see. I assume since they were the only guys in the room and he came out in the casket, I guess that'd be fair.
Sure, I know what you mean. Sure. Let me ask you this. Do you remember when you guys left, did anybody remove the tracheotomy tube?
No, I don't honestly remember that.
Yeah. That's one of the small items I've been trying to, get
I
cleared
don't
up.
honestly remember that. I wouldn't have any way of knowing that because I was gone, you see.
Yeah.
I remember we had 2 IVs in him and 2 in the chest. And
Well, if there was any blood in the lung, you guys had a sealed drainage machine working.
That's right.